Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti. We are currently exploring the scripture Mysticism of Srimad Bhagavatam. Commentaries by my worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmanandaji Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. So we have been covering this scripture for a while, and today is the last episode of Mysticism of Srimad Bhagavatam. So after this we will pick up another scripture, Mysticism of Mahabharata. So let us continue this holy journey and the last episode of this holy scripture. We were discussing about Lord Krishna's departure to his final abode. Viewed from a more subtle perspective, the death of Krishna and his family gives further insight into what happens in the mental process after one attains enlightenment. After enlightenment, there are two stages to the destruction of the mental process. The first stage is called Sarupanash, a state in which the mind is there, but due to its purity does not create bondage. Such a mind cannot create attachment and hatred because it is no longer determined by our ego. In such a mind, the negative samskaras, vasanas, vrittis, subtle impressions, etc., in the resulting thought waves, all of these have been destroyed by positive impressions. Further, the positive forces themselves have been transcended as all the thought waves flow unceasingly towards the self. This is a process called Brahmakara Vritti, which means the vrittis or thought waves are always flowing towards Brahman. This is the natural radiant mind of a Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta is liberated in life. A liberated sage who remains embodied to perform the duties prescribed by his remaining prarabdha karma through momentum. In the next stage of enlightenment, known as Arupanash, even that type of mind begins to dissolve as the prarabdha karma of a Jivan Mukta is completed. At this stage, the sage attains Videha Mukti, which means disembodied liberation. Only sages and saints, highly liberated souls, achieve this kind of an exit, and their soul departs from the body to be merged in the self. In the story presented in this chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna's family represents Brahmakara Vritti and their ramifications. When the Prarabdha Karma has terminated and one attains Videha Mukti or disembodied liberation, even that Brahmakara Vritti must disappear. The curse given to the Yadavas by the sages visiting Dwarka represent the power of intuitional knowledge. People call something a curse because they are viewing it as a destructive aspect and ignoring the constructive. For example, from the point of view of darkness, the blazing rays of the morning sun come like a tremendous curse for the darkness, tearing down the darkness apart and destroying it. But from the point of view of light, those rays are a blessing, fulfilling the benevolent wishes of God for the unfoldment of a brand new day. Similarly, the curse of the sages carried out the purposes of the divine plan to withdraw those Yadavas when the time had come for their return to the celestial realms. The iron club and the plants with sword-like leaves that grew from it symbolize the potential of intuitive knowledge to penetrate the unconscious and destroy all illusions once and for all. The city of Dwarka is a symbol of the intuitive mind. When the purpose of life has been fulfilled, even that purified mind is no longer needed. When a sage enters into Videha Mukti, the intuitive mind dissolves in the ocean of the self. The Yadava wives who entered into fire represent various sentiments of the mind. Just as the thought waves of the mind are ultimately consumed by the fire of knowledge, so too the feelings of the heart terminate as the enlightened soul melts in the experience of Parabhakti or supreme love. And finally, the last episode of this scripture, and we have concluded this scripture after I finish this section. Shuka concludes his teachings and King Parikshat attains enlightenment. So remember, we started the scripture from King Parikshat being guided by sage Shukdev through all these stories. When sage Shuka concluded his teachings about the glory of Krishna, King Parikshit bowed his head before the sage and touched his feet. O sage, said the king, due to your compassionate grace, I have heard your teachings of this glorious scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam, and as a result have attained the blissful state of oneness with the imperishable Brahman. I no longer fear death from the serpent Takshak or from any other cause. My ignorance has been completely dispelled. Give me your permission to depart now from this life and enjoy eternal union with Krishna. Pleased that his teachings to King Parikshit in the last 7 days had borne their fruit, Shukadev went his way accompanied by his disciples. Then King Parikshit seated himself in meditation and by his will gently merged his mind in the divine self. All his fear of death had evaporated, and that is why there is even today this tradition of continuing the Bhagavad for 7 continuous days for busy people, so they can take out this time and dedicate it to Lord Krishna. And we have done the same thing over a longer period in short satsanga formats. So if anybody has listened to the whole Bhagavatam, some of you have and some of you may in the future, you will get this benefit. The benefit of listening to Srimad Bhagavatam is very profound. It secures us with mukti, enlightenment, and it purifies our heart, mind and soul. And if you have sincerely heard it, I'm sure you will also agree what a profound scripture we have covered. Through our Guruji's grace, Swami Jyotirmayananda's grace, through his mercy, and I'm pleased I could be a small instrument in this plan to bring it to you on a daily basis. So, pleased with his teachings to King Parikshit in the last 7 days had borne their fruit, Shukdeva then departed. Shortly the terrible snake Takshak appeared, disguised as a Brahman. Fulfilling the curse pronounced by Shamik, that great snake then bit the foot of a King Parikshit, and instantly the body of that royal sage was burnt to ashes by the virulent poison. Although these events brought cries of dismay from relatives and onlookers who mourned the loss of the noble king, the celestial realms were filled with joyful singing as the gods applauded the enlightenment of King Parikshit through constant satsanga with sage Shukadeva, and we have enjoyed that same nectar of satsang together. The curse of the Brahman boy had been transformed into the greatest divine blessing, which through the scripture now is being transmitted all over the world. King Parikshit had neutralized the sting of death forever by attaining the bliss of mukti, liberation from the cycles of birth and death, which is the goal of every individual. Some realize it, some do not, and we are so blessed to be able to follow this scripture. His soul enjoyed uninterrupted communion with Sri Krishna, his supreme beloved. So then we do this peace chant, Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Meaning, from the fullness of Brahman, Krishna, this world has proceeded. By his fullness, this world is sustained. When the drama of the world process is over and virtue has triumphed over vice, all these names and forms dissolve in the fullness of Brahman. May that fullness of Brahman be gracious to us. May there be peace, peace, peace. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. This is Swami Nikhilanand, and we will be picking up mysticism of Mahabharata as our next scripture, and we will follow the same format of keeping the satsangas about 10 minutes in length. This Hari Om Tat Sat, and may the blessings of Lord Krishna permeate to all of us as we continue this holy journey together. Hari Om Tat Sat.